Thank you. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Emily Block, and I am president of the National Board. I want to welcome you to our Board of Directors candidate forum for SPJ. Our organ is only as strong as our membership. Am I cutting out? Nope. Okay. At SPJ, our organization is only as strong as our members and our leadership. So your willingness to be involved in the election process in any way is a reflection of that dedication. So thanks for being here. As far as today's format goes, let me check my notes. We will start with 1 minute opening statements from all the candidates. After that, I will ask a series of questions directed to all of the candidates. Candidates will have 90 seconds to answer. Others will have 30 seconds for rebuttals or follow-ups. As a reminder, this is a chance to assess candidate vision, values, capacity, not a debate with insults or sidebars. And with that, let's kick things off. So we're going to start by inviting each candidate to give a 1 minute opening statement. We're going in ballot order. So I'm going to start with the vice president candidates. And first is going to be Nicole.
Hi, so my name is Nicole DeCrescio, and I'm running for vice president of SPJ because I believe that our organization must lead boldly in defending the First Amendment, reconnect with and empower members and chapters, and secure our long-term financial stability. I bring over a decade of SPJ leadership experience at the local, regional, and national level, and I've combined that with proven nonprofit management and fundraising skills from my work founding and leading the Owen News, which is Indiana's first nonprofit newspaper in Indiana. And so I just want to make sure that SPJ not only survives, but thrives in this critical moment for journalism and for our organization.
Thank you so much. And with 10 minutes to spare, or 10 seconds to spare, nicely done. Off to Adam.
Thank you. My name is Adam Sennett. I'm currently the president of SPJ New England, and I served on the national board and the foundation board previously. I've worked with a lot of great leaders in SPJ throughout the years, and I'm running because I want to follow in their footsteps. And I think that there's a great need right now for more programming at the national level. In SPJ New England, I've helped run 2 regional conferences. I've hosted over 150 Zoom events. We're working on starting a student newspaper right now at the New Mission High School in Boston. And we've got a bunch of other really great things in the works. We've started several student chapters in the area. So I want to sort of bring that expertise to the national level and engage members better, promote chapter programming better, and try to add as much excitement and energy as I can. So.
Great. Thank you so much. Next, we have the secretary treasurer role, which is unopposed, and that would be Sarah Catania.
Thank you, Emily. It's good to be here with all of you. My name is Sarah Catania, rhymes with lasagna. I am completing my first year as secretary treasurer of SPJ National. And when I took on this role, I took very seriously the mandate to ensure not only the financial stability of SPJ, but clarity and transparency for the membership around those finances, so that an organization that has seen more than its share of turmoil and confusion could be a steady, welcoming place where people and members understand what to expect, what's possible, what's available, that can help ground us as we move forward. SPJ prides itself on being the most encompassing and broad-based membership support organization in journalism. In order to fulfill that mission, we need to be steady financially. So I am excited to have another year to continue that important work.
Thank you, Sarah. With that, we're going to move to our at-large directors, and we're going to start with Jennifer.
Hi, I am Jennifer Ellis, the Creative Services Managing Editor at the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. I'm currently SPJ's Region 12 Coordinator, and I'm a past president and longtime board member of Arkansas SPJ. I've been involved with SPJ for more than a decade. I started as president of my campus chapter at the University of Arkansas Little Rock as a non-traditional student. And then since I've been helping the Arkansas Pro chapter thrive, we won back-to-back Outstanding Small Professional Chapter of the Year when I was president. And since 2019, I've served 3 terms as a Region 12 coordinator, and I'm running unopposed again. Hopefully next year we have somebody ready to step up. And, you know, Region 12 covers Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Helped plan and with the host chapters at least 5 regional conferences since then. I also serve on the Arkansas Freedom of Information Coalition, where I'm an advocate for open government. I'm passionate about transparency, collaboration, and making SPJ stronger and more connected as an organization. I think that at the heart of everything we do is belief in the power of journalism, not only just to hold people accountable, but to bring people together and inspire change.
Thank you, Jennifer. Let's move on to Laura Garcia, please.
Hey everyone, I am excited to run for a national board position, the outgoing Region 8 coordinator, and which represents Texas and Oklahoma chapters. And I put on 3 very successful regional conferences, including one with Jennifer Ellis, who's amazing, with Region 12, that we did in New Orleans. But yeah, I started in the organization about 15 years ago as a student. I was president of the San Antonio College chapter, which was the first community college in the country to have an SPJ chapter. And so I then moved on to Texas State University, where I was also president of the SPJ chapter. We got Campus of the Year. And I've been a professional member since then. I'm also very active in other journalism organizations. I'm president of the San Antonio Association of Hispanic Journalists. So for me, diversity, hashtag more Latinos in news, you know, we need more people of color in our newsrooms. We need to, you know, really encourage and create safe spaces for all journalists to really be able to thrive in newsrooms. And so I kind of speak from that. I was a award-winning healthcare reporter in Victoria, Texas, which was the second oldest daily newspaper in Texas.
Thank you so much. And again, I hate cutting people off. Thank you. I hate cutting people off. I'm trying to let everyone close their thoughts. But again, these are 1 minute if we can help it. Thank you so much for that. With that, we're going to push off to Ernest.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ernest Owens. I'm an award-winning journalist, and I'm the CEO of Ernest Me Empire LLC. I'm also the president of Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. I'm a longtime SPJ member that is currently serving on the SPJ Foundation's board as the development committee chair. My background in nonprofit leadership is very pivotal in the work that I've done for both local and national organizations. I'm all about really raising money for organizations and also working strategically with them. It's in the DNA of my work. I'm a journalist that has also worked in the nonprofit space with various organizations and served on countless boards, both locally and regionally. And what I want to bring to the SPJ Board of Directors is a level of calmness and strategy. I think there are a lot of people that are passionate about running. They have great ideas, but a lot of times understanding implementation and execution of those things in a nonprofit sense, understanding how to work with different types of players through conflict, and how to have a strong strategic mindset, but also a team member-oriented mindset is also crucial. And I've done that with the various organizations I've served on, where I've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to support causes big and small, have strengthened fundraising efforts both locally and nationally, and really come with the type of level-headedness that's required for these times. I've worked with various organizations in the past that did not have the type of excitement and enthusiasm that SPJ has.
Joined the meeting.
And I'm really passionate about bringing people together, strengthening that, keeping the main thing, as they say in Philadelphia, and really getting people excited about SPJ again.
Thank you so much for that. Also, ironically, as a journalist, I forgot how to spell and I got us out of order for a moment. Derek Myers, I think you just rejoined us. Are you here? Would you be able to do a brief intro? I see a phone number. Derek, if that's you, this would be your time to introduce yourself if you're able.
It is me. Hi. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, go ahead. If you have 60 seconds on the clock to just kind of give us your intro spiel.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Derek Myers, editor-in-chief of Scioto Valley Guardian. It is the #1 news source in Southern Ohio. Been a SPJ member for several years. In 2022, I think many of you recall, I was arrested for wiretapping, allegedly into a courtroom of the George Wagner trial in Pike County, Ohio. Obviously was not guilty of doing that. It was the local sheriff trying to silence journalism because we had published some audio from inside the courtroom that they said wasn't supposed to be published. SPJ came to my defense along with some other folks. I was not intending to get into this race, but when I saw, much like other people, that there was vacancies, I said, you know what, I'll step up and serve. I see there's a lot of need here.
Derek, I think we lost you. Okay, that's time.
Yes.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you for chiming in where you could. We're gonna keep going, and if you're able to hear us and jump in during questions, feel free. Okay, Stephanie Overman, floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm finishing up my term as Region 2 coordinator. I became regional coordinator about the time of the pandemic, so it was pretty interesting to go through that. I'm very excited to say I've talked someone else into running for the Region 2 spot. I didn't think you were allowed to leave if you didn't find your replacement. I've been president of the Washington chapter, Washington DC chapter, the New Jersey chapter, belonged to the Deadline Club, the LA Club, the Ball State University chapter. So I've been in chapters on both coasts in the middle. I worked on not only the regional conferences, but quite a long time ago, I worked on some of the national conferences, once held in Washington, LA, New York. In fact, I was accused of moving around to follow the national conferences. I really want to help continue the good work that I've seen done in the last few years. There's some people I see here on the screen who have done a great job of bringing our finances back in the right direction. I want to see that continue. I want to see us address the problems that have faced the chapters and the regional coordinators, particularly problems with membership and with the database. We're working on that. I wanted to see that go in the right direction. I think I might have a good qualification to work on that because I am tenacious. I usually say stubborn, but I'll say tenacious. I've been working on SPJ things for decades and I don't give up. I also am focused. I have threatened at least one of you here to get back on focus. Adam's laughing. So I'm really focused. I work with anyone who has SPJ's best interests at heart. And I believe that is almost everyone in this organization. I've only run into a couple of other people, but I'm willing to work with everyone. I've got some ideas. I'm willing to try new things just because I've been around for a very long time. It doesn't mean I rely on tradition. If I did that, most of us here except Adam could not be members of SPJ. This started as an all-male organization. I'm not too hooked on tradition. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for that. Okay, we're going to move on to round one, where I'm asking broad questions presented to all of the candidates. Please feel free to jump in. When you jump in, you will have 90 seconds for that first response. Rebuttals or follow-ups will have 30 seconds. And we're all friends here, so please try to give other people the floor if you feel like you've answered a couple in a row or something to that nature. And I will do my best to keep everyone honest as well. Okay, with that, the first question before the group is, how will your leadership contribute to the SPJ community in the next 2 years?
I would say for me, how I would plan to contribute is just to really get the organization's priorities on track for our immediate needs. I think the biggest thing is the question about whether we or not will have another media fest or convention in the next 2 years. And if that is the plan, if that is something that we do seek to do, we should start having the conversation around fundraising yesterday. So that would be a major priority, is to really, figure out how we want to build our assets and our fundraising to really go about doing that. Another important thing that I would, at least strive to do is to really, be honest and sincere about what we're delivering to our members. I think there is a lot of ambiguity around the grants and around the different programs that exist and don't exist. And I think transparency is key on what SPJ can do to support people on a national level and what we can't. And then lastly, how do we better strengthen chapters who are out here doing this work? What ways that we can support them either fiscally or through resources that we can provide pro bono through our various connections.
Thank you for that. Would anyone else like to jump in? And then moving forward, I'm going to pop questions into the chat as well. Thank you for that suggestion, Nicole.
I can jump in quickly. That's cool. Yeah, I agree with basically everything Ernest just said. I think planning ahead with conferences is really important. I think for me, I've spent a lot of time while I've been at the SPJ national level talking and incessantly calling and texting chapter leaders and community leaders. And I think that one of the things I can bring to the table is just sort of bringing people together and talking to people and keeping them informed and getting people to talk to each other. I mean, one of the things I've been doing on this campaign to some level is introducing chapter leaders to each other that haven't met and haven't spoken before, and hopefully helping facilitate them sharing ideas and talking about how they can help each other and how the national organization can help them as well. And what grants they can apply for. As Ernest mentioned, I think SPJ has a lot of grant opportunities. Sorry.
You're good. No, I appreciate it. Again, I'm trying to let everyone finish their thoughts. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I can jump in, Emily. Yeah, so I think that my leadership, a lot like Ernest said, I have a lot of experience with raising money every single year. Organization here in San Antonio, we raise more than $100,000 for student scholarships. So for me to kind of see how we struggle on the national level to even have a conference to bring in those sponsors, especially seeing what other journalism organizations do, I feel like we need to hold our board and our staff accountable. And to me, that's really important to provide that service for our members, our paid members.
Thank you. Wow, right on time too. That was nicely done. Okay, our next question, and I put it in the chat as well, is how will you support chapters and members in this current climate for journalists? Who would like to kick that off?
I'll go ahead and kick that off. One of my big things that I really believe, as we're leaning into the advocacy focus that SPJ needs to do, is bring back Project Watchdog and ensure that all of our members and chapters are equipped to advocate for a free press, because at the end of the day, in addition to like all of the national support and everything that's kind of already been said as far as what SPJ needs to do to serve its members, in order to really turn the tides on the fight, as this attack on the free press is more and more prevalent, we have to have those conversations at the local level, because my community doesn't trust all of you because they don't know you, but they know me and they trust me. And I think that's the only way that we'll ever kind of turn things around in that fight. And so if we don't support chapters and members to do their work and to do that work too, we're failing them.
I was the last Project Watchdog chairperson. So I love to hear you talk about the Project Watchdog again. Other people have talked about it. It was a very important committee that we had, but it seemed to have lost its focus and other things kind of took it over. So we were struggling. I think if we bring it back, and I would love to see it brought back, I think we need the stronger focus. I don't think people realize quite how much we were trying to reach out to people who consume news and tell them not to just eat French fries. I had programs where we brought in people from the public, and I think that bothered some of the reporters who attended. You know, where did these people come from? Well, these are the people that we need to reach who don't understand what the importance of the preprints is and don't understand all the details.
I also would add that I think that with some of this stuff, a lot of this is rooted in sustainability. A lot of chapters across the country are trying to actually, build a financial infrastructure that is something that's going to sustain them. A lot of the work that I've done with the development committee at the SPJ Foundation is ensuring that there are opportunities for, respective chapters to raise money that does not clash with the national general organization's fundraising efforts. That is a big issue that doesn't get talked about a lot, but there's a lot of work that I've been doing on that committee with my members on the SPJ Foundation to ensure so that chapters do not feel like they're, not able to sustain financially because a lot of the overall fundraising by the national organization gets kind of, dominate. So finding those relationships between funding them to even do projects like the Watchdog Project, it doesn't start if they don't have a financial backbone.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernest. Let's move on to another question. What do you see as SPJ's greatest strengths and weaknesses right now?
They may be the same thing. I think our greatest strength is that we are an umbrella organization. If you are a print journalist, a broadcast journalist, academic, if you're a freelancer, we have a huge freelance community. You can move within journalism and stay with SPJ. I think the drawback to that is that people sometimes don't quite know what we are. And there are a lot of other organizations. I think we need to make that clearer. I do like that we're the umbrella organization. I have worked for magazines, newspapers, freelanced, taught. That's common, and I think we need to keep all these people in. But I think we need to be clearer on what we're focused on. We kind of go off in different directions.
Yeah, I would build on that, Stephanie. I think that's absolutely spot on. And I think that the groundwork that's been laid over the past year by staff and leadership in articulating a strategic plan with 4 key pillars: advocacy, training and information, community building, and listening to journalists, is a really strong start. I think our greatest weakness, honestly, in addition to the lack of focus, which I think we are making progress on, is our internal infighting. And the fact that for as many members as we have at SPJ, there are as many ideas about what this organization is supposed to be. There's a lack of discipline, a lack of clarity, and honestly, a lack of unity among our members, a lack of putting aside your individual needs for the sake of the whole. And I think that's a huge area that we all need to work on and model and improve for the sake of journalism, for this organization, and honestly for democracy, not to be melodramatic, but we have a role to play. And until we unite, we will never make the progress we need to make to actually have an impact.
I agree. I think that one of our biggest, strengths is our legacy. I mean, I joined SPJ as a college student, and there was a lot of accessibility and opportunity for me as a young college student to come to my first convention, I want to say in Nashville. It was the Grand Ole Opry back in 2014. And it was that legacy that drove me to want to pursue a career in journalism. That being said, I'll be 34 on Sunday. And I think one of the most concerning things is that people my age, people my racial identity, a lot of people that look like me from the cities I'm from, the relevance of SPJ does not hit there the same way. Like, I live in a city like Philadelphia, and our chapter is not active as much as it can be. And that's the reality. I think we have a lot to work on with our relevance and broadening our umbrella so that the same people who's been running the organization for so many years and the cliques that have come from that does not erode the trust and the interest of SPJ to the rest of this country and its industry. So I would say we definitely need to work on the relevance and accessibility aspect of it, because for many years, I wasn't as active as I would have loved to be because people like me weren't as engaged or embraced within the organization as it could have been. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm running. And that's why I'm serving on the SPJ Foundation's board.
Thank you, Ernest. I'm going to give the floor to David, who's on the plane but has heard the question.
It's Derek. It's okay. So I was just thinking,
Sorry.
Strengths and weaknesses in terms of SPJ and the national board. The national board, and this is touched a little bit by others, the national board, when we look at it, is sort of the parent organization, and then we have the individual chapters that are underneath that. I think when we look at those responsibilities, we need to be supporting the individual chapters, because it's sort of like boots on the ground. They are the ones who are recruiting the college students. They're the ones that are recruiting the local editors, the local reporters. And so giving the local chapters the resources that they need and staying in communication with them. As an at-large director, I would like to carve some time out to talk to each different chapter to make sure that they have the resources that they need. And also, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, later, but legal supplies.
I just want to say all this is music to my ears. I think that a really good membership organization makes you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And I don't think SPJ has necessarily done that very well in recent years. And I think that we can definitely do that and empower our members and chapters.
And I would agree, and also say that I think that until, as a national organization, we have solid financial footing, we really can't serve our members the way that it needs to. There are things that we can do that are free, and we should absolutely be doing those. But right now, our finances are bolstered by some temporary things, and returning to steering the ship in the right direction. We haven't actually been able to start moving in that direction. We've just kind of turned the direction, which is good. That's the first step, but we have to do more.
Thank you for that. This is a great discussion. While we're talking about finances already, I'll pose this next question to you, which is, as a board member, how would you approach tough decisions where finances, ethics, and member needs may not always align?
I think we can't imagine member needs and ethics not aligning with each other. I think we are, if nothing else, very determined to be an ethical organization and to be ethical journalists. So I think that line kind of threw me. Ethics and membership. It's like we keep those together. Our members are ethical, or we expect them to be ethical.
I would say that speaking from the perspective of someone who is currently serving on the SPJ Foundation, I think how we, ethics is definitely, I agree with the last speaker that it is something that should be, kind of within the framework already. But I think one of the big ways that we amplify it and really stand true to it is transparency. I think one of the things that I have noticed in leadership, but also have seen in other spaces, is that we're not as transparent to our membership about our limitations and our restrictions, or we do so when there's a moment of crisis. I think the best response when it comes to financial situations is to be transparent, but to also be proactive, letting people know what to expect ahead of time. It's kind of reflective of our newsrooms. We see all these layoffs, we see these cuts, and people act like it's sporadic. People in leadership and management treat it like it's something that just fell from the sky, when in many times there's a lot of indicators up front. And I think in this role, I plan to really bring the skills I've had on the SPJ Foundation to work to build the relationship with the foundation and the board so that everyone can be transparent and clear on what those financial priorities are, so they can better communicate that to the membership.
Yeah, Ernest, I would build on that. In my capacity over the past year as Secretary Treasurer, I've seen that up close and personal. And I think some of the predicators for having that kind of transparency is building trust, and that requires consistency. And we've had a lot of upheaval in the leadership of this organization. We have churn on the board because that's the structure. And then we have an executive director role that's been a constant churn. We've been very fortunate to have the steady hand of Caroline Hendry over the past year and a half that started to lay a foundation of trust so that we can start having those conversations about things like membership. And Stephanie, we do now have that membership platform repaired, and we have seen a steady, slow increase in membership as a result of that. We do have also not just a strategic plan idea, but that being operationalized, and we have fundraising that's actually happening. We actually have sponsors, SPJ sponsors for MediaFest. So we are seeing these actions come into play. We also have, and this is something I've worked very closely with Caroline and staff on, creating a visible, transparent snapshot view into SPJ finances that will be visible and shared in our newsletter on a regular basis. These are
Thank you,
all
Sarah.
important foundational parts of functioning organization.
Thank you. We're going to go to another question, which is how should SPJ support its chapters and regional coordinators?
Well,
Should I start us off?
oh, okay.
Go
That's
ahead,
okay.
Jennifer. Jennifer.
Sure. Well, so I really have two goals. If I were to be elected director at large, and to be really transparent, I think pretty much everybody on the ballot now currently would be an excellent candidate, and I will be happy with whoever is chosen. But I have two goals, and one is them to host the SPJ Innovation Summit. I think one of our biggest strengths is that we have lots of members with really good ideas, and we don't always ask them what they are, and we don't get together and talk, and we don't communicate as much as we really should. So the Innovation Summit idea is to do something by Zoom where everyone can come together, have different topics, finances, fundraising ideas, chapter programming, all of those things, and let people talk about them so that the best ideas rise to the top and we can work together on things. The second thing is really communication. In Vegas, I put together a resolution that delegates at the time voted for to find a communication platform where we can get together and talk. And chapter leaders can talk with one another, find out what's working well for them. We can have a immediate pipeline to national. For a group of communicators, I feel like we do not communicate well enough together on a regular basis.
That's time. Thank you, Jennifer. Does anyone want to add to that?
I would like to add the fact that we should do a lot more development with leadership and management skills with these chapter leaders that we have. I think some of the biggest, with our regional coordinators, I think that a lot of people who are coming into these roles, they have a lot of passion for SPJ, but I don't know if they have enough experience to lead in the ways that will be productive for not only their chapters, but within the larger sphere of SPJ. One of the greatest experiences I had was the Young Leaders, I think it was like Future Leaders program that I did with SPJ a couple years ago. And it was life-changing. It really gave me an opportunity to understand SPJ's history in a way that prepared me to be on the SPJ Foundation board. I think we need to bring that back on some type of level for our coordinators and our chapter leaders so that they can be able to be prepared in a great fashion, and also to create a pipeline of leadership so that we will not keep having this massive switchover. I think SPJ should really invest in a pipeline with the leaders that they currently have, develop them, invest in that management skills so that people can feel comfortable to step up so we won't have this turnover. In various organizations I've served on, I've invested in trainings and work to help develop leaders through a pipeline so that we don't have these shakeups and these turnover issues. And I think we need to really prioritize that. The programming is great, the fun and all that stuff is awesome, but we really need to invest in sustainable ways to keep the organization strong.
Thank you, Ernest.
Excuse me. I also think that there's grant funding that's available right now that SPJ could direct towards chapters and regions. The foundation's giving away $70,000 in grants this year. I think that should go to chapters, regions, and communities. The First Amendment Forever Fund is supposed to be giving out $10,000 a year. I think we could direct that to chapters and communities and regions. I think that we could help them with fundraising. Lucas Metropolis and I did a fundraising training via Zoom for chapter leaders. Lucas and I were talking about making that regular, semi-regular. So I think that that's another way we could really support them. I also think we could find ways to get regular sponsors for the regional conferences. It's not my area of expertise, but that would really help if we could get regular funding for that.
Thanks, Adam.
And I'll
Nicole?
also say, as someone who served as a regional coordinator, and I was very fortunate that I served as the assistant regional coordinator under a really great regional coordinator before me, and that's part of building the pipeline that Ernest brought up, as well as bringing in folks before you're ready to step on to the next phase. But also, there's not a lot of clear training or consistency or really clear expectations for regional coordinators. So sometimes even in that level, those leaders feel lost, as if they don't really know what to do or how to best support. And
Right.
so all
Thank
of those
you.
things are also part of it.
Thank you, everyone. Our next question is, how do you see SPJ's role in defending press freedom in the current climate, and how should the board prioritize this kind of work?
I think journalists need to know their rights. I think there has been a lot of free press violations on a legal sense. We need to be coordinating we need to build capacity. I know we do that already to a certain extent, but we've got to build legal protections. There is a lot of, I wrote the book, The Case of Council Culture. And so ironically, we talk about the free press and the free speech. And one of the things that I think has been jarring lately is that people are not really fully aware of their rights and legal protections, even within their newsroom. And as much as the rules and the laws are changing day by day, I think it's important for us to connect people to legal support, legal aid, and references to actually protect their livelihoods. Because you can, take stances and put statements out, and that's great. But if people are losing their jobs as we speak, if we're seeing people's livelihoods be threatened, we need to make sure that people, our own members and our journalists, are protected before we take bigger stances that are international and whatnot. So I would say legal protections of the actual members and journalists in this field, I think is a major priority.
And we do have the Legal Defense Fund, and I don't think we shout out about that enough, even to our own members. This is something really valuable that we have, and we have not promoted it in recent years. We used to have auctions that didn't raise a lot of money, but I think they at least raised sort of awareness of it, that SPJ has your back. And I think we need to make that more visible again.
We also used to do roasts with famous journalists like Walter Cronkite and Bob Schieffer. Those were a lot of fun. Maybe we could bring those back.
And Reggie Stewart used to auction off your tie if you were silly enough to wear one. But yeah,
Laura was jumping.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I have to agree with Stephanie when she's talking about we have so many things that we do offer, and even our code of ethics as it is, and it's communication, and I think it's just we're not doing the best job that we can, our staff, to communicate down to the regional coordinators, to train them to communicate with all the chapters, and I think the membership database being fixed is going to help, but it's like I really feel like it's like, yeah, like Ernest said, you put out the statements and that's great and all, but how really can you access these resources to help you? And in a lot of cases, they're there. It's just they don't really know about it.
Yeah, one of the big challenges that I've observed in my time as Secretary Treasurer is the inordinate focus internally for an organization that should be out in the world advocating and partnering with others. And I think this is a clear example of that. In addition to the internal resources and doing a better job of communicating with our own membership, we need to, and I've seen big steps forward in this, partner with other journalism advocacy organizations to leverage our voice in combination with others who are doing this work. This is not the kind of thing that's going to be accomplished by any individual or any individual organization. This is an existential threat on journalism in our society. And we need to, I would say, really support the leadership of our organization in doubling down on partnerships so that we can work together to have the biggest possible impact.
I just want to quickly, in terms of fighting, I want to echo what Sarah just said. And in terms of partnering with other organizations, the Chicago Headline Club just partnered with several other journalism groups to sue the Department of Homeland Security and ICE over force used against reporters recently. I think that is a big, I want to give a big shout out to them for doing that, to stand up for press freedoms. And I think those are the types of things we should be following in their footsteps. So good to the Chicago Headline Club.
Well, and then that goes to the communication when those things are happening, making sure everyone knows, because then other organizations will want to hop on, will want to partner, and equipping chapters even in small areas or rural areas to also be willing to take up that fight because they know they have national SPJ behind them in this.
Thank you all so much. Our next question is, what is one goal you hope to accomplish by the end of?
I would like to see SPJ have a revived sense of spirit and pride. I think a lot of our members, some of them feel, like, hey, I'm a part of SPJ because I'm a journalist and it's an obligation. I want people to have a level of pride and swag about it. I am the president of an organization that turned 51 years old this year. And there was a period of time where there was a lot going on for Black journalists in Philadelphia. And there was a lot of layoffs, a lot of upheaval. And one of the biggest things that, I did in my first term in my presidency was just really help raise the morale up to get people to show up. And now we have an organization that has fundraised money. We're self-sufficient. We're independent from the National Association of Black Journalists. And we have a sense of Philly pride and Black journalist pride that has really skyrocketed our fundraising efforts and our volunteer levels. And so, if anything, is that raise the morale of the organization and its members so that people will be more enthusiastic about stepping up and running and showing up and showing out for SPJ in ways that does not treat this like a chore or an obligation.
I have to agree with Ernest, really, just like wholeheartedly. There are so many organizations, journalism organizations that you can join that offer these amazing benefits for you. Why should they join SPJ, right? And I think that for me, my goal would be, let's get back to having an in-person conference. Let's have a conference. And, to me, that is just so important, is having folks be able to have the opportunity to meet face-to-face, in person, and network. And I can tell you so much about me personally, how I met one person at a conference that helped me decide and change the trajectory of my career, and got me on the editor path. And it was honest to God, that happy hour conversation that made me like wake up, and it was just like, I think we just have to get back to that.
My goal would be that in the next 2 years, we'll be moving toward a place where we don't have to talk about finances incessantly, that we are on the right path. We can get to the point where we can talk about the kinds of things that the journalists really want to talk about more. I think we're moving in the right direction. And I think when we think of other ways of getting money, other streams of revenue, I think we'll get there.
Yeah, to that end, Stephanie, because I have this privilege of a second year in the role of Secretary Treasurer, my goal by the end of 2026 is to have clarity and transparency around SPJ's finances relative to the very generous and essential influx of cash from the foundation. How are we tracking against getting to a place of sustainability once we come to the end of that runway? We have a couple more years, but it's not a forever amount. So that would be a very clear, transparent way to understand that viability question, Stephanie.
Thank you for that. Pretty soon we're going to go to audience questions, but before that, I want to give each candidate an opportunity to pose a question to another candidate if they have one. The time limit for that would be 30 seconds for a question, 30 seconds for answer. So if anyone has a question for another person on this panel.
Could I put a question to the two VP candidates, Nicole and Adam?
Please.
What would success look like for you at the end of 2026?
For me, if we had some more national programming, an idea of what that national program could be. I mean, Chris and I, and I'm sure Chris and Nicole have been talking about this quite a bit, but also I want to get chapters engaged in applying for those grants that I mentioned from the First Amendment Forever Fund and from the SPJ Foundation, and hopefully getting some of that grant funding to those chapters and communities, and then promoting the work they're doing very heavily on social media. That would be a big success, I think, for me.
And so something that Adam and we've been in a couple different forums, like we're not actually too different in a lot of what we define as success. My other thing is that financial component, because at the end of the 2 years, we're really close to the end of that MOU influx of dollars from the foundation. And if we as a national organization don't have that financial stability, it's all we'll ever talk about. And I don't want to be talking about that. I want to talk about how we can serve journalists. And so success is getting that taken care of so we can actually be talking about those things and supporting our chapters. So
Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to go over to audience questions. Our first question comes from Hazel Becker, and her question is, what is your vision for growing SPJ's membership and to get members involved?
Well, I think that programming is very key to that. And sometimes people think of programming as something that like you have to have money to have to do, but there are ways that you can do programming very free or cheap. I think the freelance community is a great example of that. And a reminder that our communities aren't in competition with our chapters. They are an enhancement to the experience, not something to completely replace that if there is a local chapter near someone. And so really with that, in addition to that, one of my big things is trying to revive the Gen J community with a mentorship program so that way we have our young people staying in SPJ.
I would
Thank
add
you for
the
that.
power. I would add the power of collaboration. I think one of the frustrating things that I have noticed, just as a leader of another affinity group like the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, like a member of the LGBTQ Journalists of Philadelphia group, is that SPJ in many ways, I mean, at least in my region, is in a silo. You know, they're not necessarily collaborating with affinity groups, and I think that's why we sometimes struggle with the diversity situations that we have sometimes on different levels, because we're not engaging affinity groups on local level. Look, national organization and groups, I know there's been presidents that have gone to those national conventions and things, but that doesn't reflect the on the ground work of chapters on the ground. And so I would really, really encourage participation and collaboration with affinity group chapters of other organizations with SPJ to really build those reliances, because those members would love to be a part of SPJ if they saw a face or a person that they knew that kind of worked with them in a way that wasn't centered around recruitment. And so I would say really leaning into these collaborations, especially at a time where all journalists of all walks of life should be coming together and working together.
I think these collaborations are really important. I'm mostly been in the Washington, D.C. chapter, and we have done a lot of collaborating with other groups. We're trying to get back from it. I see changes after the pandemic, but we used to do a lot more with the other groups and the interaction, having programs with American Society of Journalists and Authors or affinity groups, or doing things with JAWS. There's no reason you can only belong to one journalism group. And any kind of partnerships that we can have, I think, get members more involved.
I'd like to add that, you know, as a longtime chapter leader, I have discovered that really people don't really get involved until you ask them to get involved. You know, they will join, they'll become members of SPJ, but until you like reach out to them personally, ask them to help with a specific thing, they really will just sit back. Now we have the Press for Education project, which if we encouraged broader participation in that, where members are paired up with K through 12 classrooms to go and speak to a class. Like that's something most journalists could take one day to do something like that, and then that would help really encourage them to be more involved. Also, just like every year we're supposed to ask who is interested in serving on a committee. Some people just raising in the hand is keying you in to the fact that that person is willing to help and that person is willing to be a leader. So those are things that we really need to do, is like reach out to people specifically. Adam's very good at that, but also and like the conference that Laura and I did together a few years ago, we could very easily help combine a region or two for a conference and make that our national conference for the year, so that we can still have that connection, still bring people together, but maybe it's not quite as costly. And
Thank
maybe
you.
it doesn't have to happen at the Hyatt.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to pass our next audience question to Patty, and then I'm just going to remind everyone that we're trying to keep as close to time as possible. I know we started a few minutes after, but Patty Newberry.
Thank you, Emily. Sorry, I'm on a phone, so hard to type. This is really terrific. Thank you to all of you guys for stepping forward. This is a very strong lineup of candidates, and I really have confidence that whoever is elected is going to do the essential work of digging in and contributing and always coming prepared to meetings, meaning reading your materials and knowing your background, because those are just essential tasks for board members. But all of you have serious SPJ credentials. Here's my question. You've heard that the board in recent years has a strategy. We have the 4 pillars. And then most recently, we went through this laborious and expensive process to identify advocacy as the direction forward, as the identity of SPJ, kind of above all else. So I'd like to hear some of you respond to that as a direction of the organization. Do you buy into advocacy as being the highest order of SPJ at this moment in time?
Absolutely. I think it's great that we have a focus and a direction, and I think that advocacy now is one of the most important things. Journalism is under attack, and I think that journalists out there and news organizations need people to advocate for them and for the industry and for journalism and press freedom rights. So I am really excited about this, and I think that I'm really excited to see where it's going to go and what's going to come out of it. So I support it 100%.
I think advocacy is a great idea. And I think, I was a part of those meetings with the foundation when we heard about those pillars. But I think the big thing is that I look at advocacy as a vision, but I want to see how we turn it into a direction. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I plan to do in my leadership alongside with fellow board members, if I'm fortunate to be elected, is to give directives. I think right now there are members of SPJ that's looking for direction. There's a vision, and the vision is clear. Advocacy is that, and it makes so much sense because that is the backbone of this organization's history. However, I think people want leaders that's going to direct. They want to know what's the mission, what's the goals, what do we need to do? And I think right now that is a little vague to some people. Like, how do they advocate? What is SPJ's parameters on that? What are the boundaries? What are the expectations? And I think in this iteration of this next term, I would love to see us as a collective begin to really spell out what advocacy looks like as SPJ and send those directives to the board and our fellow leaders to really be able to let it be seen rather than be felt rather than not just be heard or seen on flyers and emails and newsletters.
Ernest is exactly right. If this is what we're doing, and I think it is the right thing, as press freedom has always been one of SPJ's North Stars, then we need to move towards action. And I say that because I'm in both Line Publishers and INN. At the start of 2025, Line Publishers hired a full-time advocacy staff member. So they're working in that space. INN is getting ready to start working in that space. And so if SPJ doesn't kind of lead boldly in that, then we will fall by the wayside, and our North Star will be everyone else's North Star, and we'll lose our impact and ability to be effective in that capacity.
Yeah, the way I look at this is absolutely advocacy is at the top. And if you look at the 4 strategic priorities, training and information community building and listening to journalists are the stack underneath that. And because of our structure with local, regional, and national, Nicole, I think that's our secret sauce. That's where our strength comes in. And to your point, Ernest, when we double down on the training, when we ensure that we're building a strong peer network, that will provide the infrastructure for us to have a distinct and meaningful voice in partnership with all of these other organizations around this core focus.
Thank you all so much for this. Oh, Jennifer, you have one more.
I was just going to say that, defending press freedom has always been at the heart of SPJ, and the way that the board could really prioritize this is by finding a way through grants and or strategic fundraising, finding a staff position dedicated to advocacy, making it a very visible pillar of our plan. And the fact that we don't currently have a staff member that's dedicated to that, that shows that it's not.
I want to clarify on that. We actually do have a person that we have allocated funding to do that work for us. It's not a permanent staff position, but there is a person now funded by SPJ who is focused entirely on advocacy. We don't have the funds to create a permanent position right at this moment, but because it is such a high priority, the decision was made to fund this position for now. But you're absolutely right, Jennifer. We do need to find a way to make that a permanent position.
I believe Sarah's referring to the press freedom strategist, Anne Marie Tamburo. I hope I didn't mispronounce her name, but I'm really excited to see the work she's going to be doing and any way we can support that. So I welcome Anne to SPJ.
And
yeah, but I'm meaning a specific full-time position. And I think that our members care so much about this that if we specifically ask them for money for that on top of their dues, that we would come up with the money very quickly. And I think that needs to be a priority.
Thank you so much for this discussion. We're gonna, like I said, we're over time, but barely. And I want to give everyone a chance to go around the room and give their closing pitch or final thought. The time limit is 60 seconds or less, please. And with that, we're gonna go back in ballot order. We're gonna start with Vice Presidential candidate Nicole DeCriscio.
Yeah, I guess the thing that I would hit home is that the overall destination from, I would think, all of these candidates seems really, really similar. It's the fine details of what path is taken to get there. And at the end of the day, I strongly believe this is a critical moment for SPJ and for journalism as a whole, and that if we work together, we can ensure that we are a strong and resilient organization, and that at the end of the day, SPJ has to lead boldly, connect deeply with our members, and then sustain itself for generations. And so that's kind of the three keywords of summing up my vision for it. So.
Thank you, Nicole. Adam?
I just want to thank everyone for being here. This has been really phenomenal. I think there's a ton of great candidates running. I think the organization is in, with the strategic priorities, is in a really great position for the future. And I think all the ideas we've heard today has made me very excited. So I'm excited to work with all of you no matter what happens. And hopefully the future is bright. So thank you all. Thank you, Emily. And I'll see you all in DC.
Thank you, Adam. With that, we move on to the Secretary Treasurer position, Sarah Catania.
Yeah, I want to thank Emily Block for her leadership over this past year as president. It's just been a pleasure to serve alongside you, Emily. And I'm excited to celebrate you at Media Fest and celebrate the incoming group. And I look forward to the year ahead.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for those words. That's really sweet. Jennifer Ellis, we're moving on to at-large directors, starting with Jennifer.
I again want to echo everyone, I think, who is on this call and who are going to be our final candidates are excellent choices. And I appreciate everyone's work that has helped be leaders throughout SPJ, whether it's chapter leaders all the way up through national. If by the end of my term, if I am elected, I want our local leaders to feel more supported, more informed, engaged with national efforts. And if that happens, whether I am a board member or not, that is a big win. And I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer. Laura?
Hey, like everybody said, this has been really, really cool, just kind of hearing and seeing everybody. And it sounds like a lot of it, like we're all on the same page. We all want the best for SPJ. So many good candidates here. I might not vote for myself. I might vote for no. There's so many just great ideas, great passion. being part of this organization for the past 15 plus years, like I love this because it's been disheartening in recent years to kind of see a struggle financially, and to see this, it gives me optimism. And I'm proud to be part of this organization any way that y'all will have me. So yay.
Thank you. Derek Myers is on a plane and he had to drop off of the call, but I messaged him just in case he's able to get something in writing. With that, Stephanie Overman.
I've been a member of SPJ since 1975, I believe, and this is as optimistic and as excited as I've been in a long time. I want to be a part of this. I've seen in the last couple of years a really a good movement. We are on track. I want to stay on track, and also want to welcome you all to Washington, D.C. We're really happy that you're all coming, and we're looking forward to doing this. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Ernest.
Yes, I love all of the people that have stepped up to run. I'm excited about the future of SPJ. You know, 2014 when I got an opportunity to go to my first convention doing SPJ News as a college student, and to now look back at the fact I'll be 34 and I'm still a member. It was because of that recruitment. It was because of that investment that now it's a full circle moment to be a college student that then over a decade later come and run to be a part of this great board. And so I'm really excited about keeping that joy and that spirit alive and letting people know the SPJ that I knew, that has kept me fortified, has kept me motivated. I mean, I went through the leadership training. I became a part of the foundation. I served on the committee. And that joy and enthusiasm keeps me going now that I'm in my mid-30s. So I'm looking very much forward to this future and looking forward to seeing you all from DC. And also giving a great cheers to my Philly girl, Emily, who has done some great work and is also part of the reason why I'm even showing up, to be able to see that there's young, excited folks in their 30s showing up for SPJ and caring, and seeing so many mentors over the years invest in both of us. And so I just want to keep the torch and keep everything going and keep building the pipeline. So that's why I'm running, and I look forward to working with you all, celebrating you on DC.
Thank you, Ernest. Late breaking news, I have a texted statement from Derek, so I am going to read it on his behalf. He says, earlier this year, I was the only journalist in Ohio to sue to block the Ohio governor from implementing a law that would require journalists and the public up to $750 for body cams. Before, they were free. The people's records are just that, the people's. I believe in government accountability and have even been jailed pursuing it. If elected, I will focus on growing our legal assistance to our members by workshops and more. Thank you, end quote. That's from Derek. And finally, we have a note from Michelle Watson, who is our final candidate for at-large director. She is a reporter at CNN, and she has been tied up in breaking news since 2 p.m. She extended her apologies and also sent a link to the live blog that she is currently working on, and I've dropped that in the chat along with her apologies. With that, we've reached the end. Thank you to our candidates and to our audience for your participation in this really wonderful and thoughtful discussion. It's very clear that SPJ is in fantastic hands moving forward. Please don't forget to vote when the time comes. Balloting will be open the first day of Media Fest 25 and closes 2 days later. All SPJ members are eligible to vote, and they receive their ballot electronically by email. And with that, goodbye. We did it.